Welcome to Local Everywhere. I'm Cynthia Pooler. My guest today is Shows Leary, and he's going to talk about his book, the, I'm sorry, can you say it?
The Footless Girls of Camp C.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about what that book is about.
Certainly. I tried to join the United States Marines in 1972 when I got out of high school, and I was all set to go. And I unfortunately hurt my leg in a soccer game,
Ooh.
and the Marines wouldn't take me. And this was the end of Vietnam, so they weren't taking everybody for sure. They were taking being very selective. Subsequently, it took me a couple of years to recuperate from that, and I went on with my life. I worked. I really liked the fighting arts, boxing, martial arts. I, of course, have an interest in weapons at the time. And lo and behold, it turned out that the recruiting corporal who recruited me for the Marines, he retired, and he saw me at one of the dojos I was working at in Albany. And he started watching me and he got interested in me. And I didn't know that he was even really around. But it turns out that he was a recruiter for what we'll call a private army.
Hmm.
We commonly call them mercenary armies. So in 1975, he chased me down after watching me for a while and invited me to join this army, which I did. I regretted not being able to join the Marines. I still had that fire in me. And subsequently, in spring of 1976, I ended up on my first mission with this company.
So tell us a little bit about the company you were with and what inspired you to write the book.
Well, of course, the company is very secretive. And in the
Okay.
book, I don't give their real name. I don't give anybody's real name in the book. I was required to sign a non-disclosure agreement before the first mission. That was for 45 years. So that was in 1976.
Mm-hmm.
45 years later was 2021. In the meantime, I had spent all those years writing the book, doing the
Okay.
research, recreating everything in my mind, making myself confident that I wasn't giving away any of the secrets of who the people actually were and where we actually went to. In the spring of 1976, I got called up for a mission. I had a meet down in Florida. I drove down there from where I was working in Pennsylvania, and they put us on a jet. It was all blacked out, had no numbers on it. There was about 15 other men on the jet, and I ended up in this jungle, and I don't know what country I'm in. Sort of in the book portray it as South America. Probably was, but I honestly don't even know, which is part of their tactic to keep us unaware of where we are. Because if you ever got captured, they don't want us telling anything,
So,
to the
so
public.
you get on this plane and you don't know the destination, am I correct?
Correct, and they drugged us, or at least me, and probably some other people. So I had no idea how long I was in the air. They had taken our watches. Like I said, the windows were blacked out, so I couldn't see anything. So I don't know how long I was on the plane for, but I speculate on that in the book. It was a couple hours, I'm pretty sure. Uh, Woke up, the door opened, and as hot as it was in Florida, this blast of heat came into that plane and just sucked all the oxygen out. And I walked out of that plane onto this landing strip, literally in the middle of a jungle. It had been carved out at some point, not, I don't think, too recently. A second plane arrived that I found out would come in from California. So there ended up being about 35 to 40 total men in this camp in the middle of the jungle. We spent about 2 weeks training and getting acclimated and understanding the mission. And then we were helicoptered somewhere. Again, the windows were blacked out in the helicopter. We flew for about an hour and a half and got dropped off again in the middle of a jungle. And we began the mission. The scope of the mission was the war on drugs. And our goal was to destroy 3 cocaine storage camps that had been built into the jungle. We moved by foot and we hiked for several days until we came to the first camp. And we subsequently attacked the camps, all 3 camps. And, the big picture, we attacked all the camps successfully. We killed everyone at the camps, blew up all the cocaine, and completed the mission and got out of there and got brought back to Florida, where I moved on to something else at that point.
Hmm.
Total mission time was about 2 months.
Okay.
Now, everyone else on the mission were Vietnam veterans and a couple Korean veterans. I was the only person there with no actual military experience. So my perspective in the book is kind of unique because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't have any of their experience, but I was young. I was gung ho. I went along with it. I did what I had to do to survive. I suffered several injuries. Obviously, I survived them. Um, and for a for a while afterwards, I just got on with my life before
Okay.
anything else could happen.
Okay. And
So I, I immediately, as soon as I got back to Florida, I bought a notebook and I started keeping a journal and writing down everything I could possibly remember because I knew 45 years was a long time. I knew I would be in my 60s by then. I held on to that book, and this was before computers were even available to the public. So I hand wrote, not the whole book by any stretch, but I started writing just mostly as a way to remember it all. Because again, I knew 45 years was going to seem like forever at that point.
hmm
Eventually, computers got invented, and I bought one, and I suffered through all of that trying to figure out computer. I suffered through Microsoft crashes where I lost drafts of the book. I didn't know about saving every 2 minutes. I had to restart the book a couple times, but eventually I got a hold on that. And as my life went on, I got married, I had children, I had work, I had businesses, always in the background and never speaking to anybody about it. My family, my wife, my children, no friends. I wrote this book, thoroughly researched it to make sure it was very, very accurate with all the military details. And then soon enough, 2020 is creeping up on me, and I'm like, wow, I've accomplished writing my book. I think I can pull this off.
let
In
me
fact,
ask you one
yeah, sure.
question. Was that the only mission you went on, or did you go on more?
Well, let me say this. If I went on more, I might be still subject to non-disclosure agreements.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep.
Okay. Um, so I brought the book to fruition, at least in my mind and on paper, although obviously on a computer. I was pretty confident I had a pretty good grip on it. I had worked on the side all my life to really understand the writing process. I did go to college. I have a bachelor's degree in philosophy, which was valuable to me because I learned to write and to critically think. I put the book together. I realized I should have an editor, although I was pretty confident in it. I found a very wonderful lady in Saratoga, Dina Chappelle. She did all the editing with me. I found an artist who was pretty famous in the music world. His name is Mike Dubois. He's in Woodstock, New York. He did the cover of the book. I provided him just a hand sketch, literally on a piece of paper that I scanned into my computer, and he came up with, I think, is a very compelling cover. And over the last couple of years, we all did our work on this book. It finally came out. I started having people read drafts of the book, and the feedback I got was way beyond what I thought. And it turns out that apparently I'm a pretty good writer and a pretty good storyteller. I didn't even really know that I was, or didn't really think in terms of that.
Mhm.
Then I got the idea of going to the open mic and reading parts of the book. And I
Mhm.
did, and the feedback I got there was spellbinding. People's jaws were just dropping, especially from the action sequences. The military action, most of us, if you're not in the military, you don't, you hear about it, but you don't really know. I think I was able to bring that to life. It's
Mhm.
very gruesome, very detailed. A lot of people die. Um, most of my crew survived. We lost 3 people on the trip out of 30.
Mhm.
Sad to see that happen, but I go through in detail all of that.
Mhm.
So there I am, and you and I ran into each other, and you were kind enough to express interest.
And so I should have discussed this with you before the interview, but could you read an excerpt from your book that have people spellbound?
Oh, if you give me a moment to think about it while we're talking and to find
Sure.
a section, I will.
Yes.
I subsequently now my book is available on paperback and Kindle,
Hmm.
and I just got notice 2 days ago that the audiobook version is accepted on Audible, iTunes, and Amazon. I did the narration
Hmm.
at a studio in Petersburg, Mountaintop Studios. Joel Patterson was a recording engineer. It's 22 hours long. It's a pretty thick book, and I made it in the biggest font possible that they would allow me to, because I'm old, and I think that this book is probably more so going to appeal to older people. So
Okay.
I wanted to make it legible for everybody. I did 36 separate voices for all the characters in the book, which I had no idea I could do that till I did it, which was pretty interesting.
Hmm.
Um, I also have a local musician. His name is John Sahowski. I happened to be at one of his concerts, and he did a song called If We Could Only," and that song is about child abuse. And this book has a lot of scenes about child abuse. At Camp C, we found children being used as slaves to work on the cocaine storage. We
Hmm.
rescued all those kids and got them to a UN mission. And, I'd like to feel that we saved their lives and they got on with their lives. So John's song just fit in with the theme of the book. It's very sad, it's very heartbreaking, but I fit it in at the end of the book, and it just was the perfect way to end the book.
And so would you say that what you wrote about in your book is not widely known to the American public?
I would say that I'm sure everybody has heard of the war on drugs. What
Right.
does that mean? Well, in one narrow scope, I worked on it. We went to other countries where, in this case, cocaine was being processed and stored. being shipped to the United States and probably all over the world. And this company did something about it. Who hired the company? I have no idea. It would be easy to assume the United States government did, or perhaps the government of the country we were in. I don't know. The
Okay.
company was very guarded about all their information, and
Okay.
that's agreeable. I understand that and respect
Mhm.
that, and I've worked very hard to not expose them. Now,
Okay.
even though I'm released from my 45-year non-disclosure agreement, I'm not going to spill the beans on who they actually were.
Right. Right. So as you're looking through the book to read a passage, was it very painful for you to write the book?
Well, yeah, people talk about post-traumatic stress syndrome,
Yes.
and I don't really think that I had that, or I don't feel that I experienced that. And I don't know why. I'm not a special guy. I'm not a genius. To me, it was a job. Yeah, it was very difficult, especially the first other human being that I killed. But they were trying to kill me also.
Mm-hmm.
So survival is of paramount importance, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I did kill several people, many up close, face to face, many from farther distance with rifles. I'm not necessarily proud of that, but again, I did what I had to do, and it was people that, on some level, were probably deserving of that. I mean, I was sucked in by let's say, the politics of the time of being a part of the war on drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Sitting back from the perspective of almost 50 years later, I don't know how successful that really was. There's still drugs all over the place.
Right.
Did we put a dent in it? Yeah. I mean, if you looked at, what those steel storage containers you might see on construction sites.
Mm-hmm.
So they were really literally shacks in the jungle made of wood. So they weren't steel, but they were about that big, filled with what we call Legos of cocaine. It's just stack after stack of brick after brick. We blew them all up and destroyed it all.
Well.
I have no idea weight wise how much that was, but volume wise, that was a lot. Three of those container sized buildings blown up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in the big scheme of things, we probably put a little dent in it, but at the time, I thought it was a great idea. But again, I was young. I was 21 years old. I'm sure I was sucked into the politics of it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But it is what it is, and I was who I was. So I went for it. I saw an opportunity. I knew I would never be in the military. My knee was really rough shape at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I saw an opportunity. I took it. I survived it, and I shut up for 45 years. And now I feel free to talk about it, and
Okay.
I'm doing it.
Okay.
I am trying to find a spot here, so give me a second. I'm also going to put my glasses on because, of course, I'm old and I need help seeing up close. Okay, how about this? We're at Camp C. We've already blown up 2 camps. I'm on the reconnaissance mission solo because I turns out I'm good at that. And I'm in the middle of the night. I snuck up to the camp and I'm snooping around the camp by myself. Only for weapons, I've got handguns and K-bar knives. And my mission is to try and peek in each shack, determine which shack has the cocaine, which shack is where the guards are sleeping, and uh, draw the layout of the camp so I can go back to our crew and explain what we're facing so we can make the best plan possible.
Mhm.
So it's the middle of the night. I've already found the latrine. I found the cocaine shack, and I'm about to go look in the back of the shack where the guards are. Now I'm crawling on the ground, and what I'm doing is I'm using K-bar knives and I'm prying the twigs apart and I'm looking into the shack.
Mhm.
I make my slow, methodical crawl to the back of the third shack. This one is about the same size as the cocaine storage shack, at least at the rear. Two windowless openings are cut into the wall near the top, under the overhang of the roof logs and branches. Not sure if there's electricity, highly doubt it. Not hearing a generator, and not seeing any security lights. I poke the two K-bars through the thatch near the bottom of the wall, carefully pry them apart. A few branches shift. Excellent. There's enough light to get a decent view. Scanning the room, I see about 20 cots and a few bunk bed style cots. They all have mosquito netting over them. This is an aside. We're in the jungle. The mosquitoes are relentless, nonstop. And although we know what DEET is, the DEET that we buy today is 10, 20, maybe 40%. We're using 100% DEET straight
Oh,
out of the bottles, spreading it on our skin, turning my skin yellow.
wow.
That's how we're surviving mosquitoes. And I have a mosquito net to sleep in. But that was probably the hardest part with surviving the mosquito. And there's
Mhm.
the fear of malaria at the same time.
Right.
It's a little known. I assume it's factual. I can't verify it, but I've been told, and my research has told me that more soldiers died in Vietnam from malaria than getting killed by being shot or blown up.
Mhm.
I can't verify that that's the truth or not, but most things I read tell me that.
Mhm.
Back to the reading.
Okay.
One man wakes and gets out of his cot. He is wearing white boxer shorts that are now pretty much brown. Same for the t-shirt. His belly is sticking out of the shirt, hanging over his shorts. He bends over as if he is putting on shoes. I keep at ultra alert status. A few minutes later, snap. I hear that sound to my right. Footsteps coming toward me from the side of the shack, heading toward the rear. I get off my stomach and come to a full crouch. Nosy monkey, as Master Pie calls it. I ease the two K-bars out of my vest, wiping the sweat from my face with a forearm. The K-bar in my left hand is shaking. Breathe, breathe, breathe. I get myself ready for all hell to break loose. If I gotta fight this guy, I will kill him in seconds. But if he cries out, my cover is blown, and the mission is messed, I'll die. The guys will forget about me, and they'll still blow this place up. As the footsteps approach my corner, I hear the guy singing a drunken banter in Spanish. I can take him by surprise at the corner. If I get my K in his windpipe fast and first, he won't be able to make much noise. Maybe a gurgle of blood being swallowed. I have a plan. Stay in the monkey pose. Let him walk by. As he gets by, attack from the back. slice his windpipe with the right-handed K-bar, and plunge the left-handed K-bar into the back of his skull where his neck meets the axis bone. The vertebrae will snap. Hopefully, he will fall back against me so I can ease him to the ground. If he gets a shout or other kind of noise, I do all that anyway. Finish him off with a few stabs to the heart and lungs, and then run like hell away from the direction of my team's camp and hope to circle around them in a couple of hours or days. They will probably know Murphy happened by all the noises that will be made in the camp, so they will be on alert. I'll be the guy that messed up the mission. I'll be that guy. That dark thought crushes me. I cajole myself. Stop. Pay attention. My only choice would be to kill them all, here and now. That thought crushes me even deeper. Could I do that? There's 30 men here. Be real. Pay attention. Here he comes. My heart is racing. My mouth is desert dry. I'm digging my starboard toe into the dirt while bracing my left foot for a push-off. There he is, drunk, stumbling, talking to himself, waving a rusty machete in the air, head pointed toward the ground, looking away from my position. Veers to his left, never looking toward me. He stands facing the corner pole of the next shack. He pisses on the corner pole. It is a long, odious sound splattering onto his bare feet. I am on edge. I'm still going to slice him and hard if he looks at me. I'm going to stop there because
Okay.
you can start to imagine what's about to happen.
Mhm. So,
Um,
on a lighter note, you you're you're in you also have a love of music, correct?
I was just about to bring that up because I wanted to balance that out. I call this a musical slash military memoir. I've loved music since I could listen to it on the AM radio in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the book takes place at the Watkins Glen Music Festival in 1973.
Ooh,
All
okay.
chapters are dedicated to that.
Okay.
I'm not giving a review of the music. I'm giving a review of the scene, the crowd, and all the people that I met, and how that turned me on to playing bass. I started in 1967 on drums, and I enjoyed drums, no doubt. There was always something going on that I could hear on AM radio, which of course is very poor quality. Well, at the Watkins Glen Music Festival, I, for the first time, really, excuse me, heard the Grateful Dead.
Mm-hmm.
And I not only heard, but I felt Phil Lesh's bass playing. And at that moment, I gave up drums and I switched to bass. And when I got back from Watkins Glen, about a week later, I traded in my drums and bought my first bass.
Okay.
Subsequently, I got very involved in the Grateful Dead. I toured all over the country for years. I was always in construction, so I was able to drive anywhere, get a job for a week or two, make a couple $100, and go see Grateful Dead week after week, month after month.
Mm-hmm.
Grateful Dead permeates throughout the book. All the lyrics of the songs, the feelings, sounds, the friends. That's kind of what got me through this mission, constantly referring back to that. So I weave music and mostly the Grateful Dead through the entire book because that's what was happening. That was what was going
Right.
on in my mind.
Right. So do you play music in this in the Tri-City Albany area?
Oh, I sure do.
Okay.
I played Saturday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, last night. I'm going to play tonight.
Okay.
Currently involved with about 6 different bands. Now, sometimes I just sit in with people because maybe their bass player is going to miss a gig. But people know they
Okay.
can call me up. I can pretty quickly catch on. And I'm in a couple of more established bands.
Okay.
But yes, I love music. Music
Mhm.
loves me. Um, I play as much as I possibly can. This last few months, I think I've learned nearly 100 new songs with all the different bands that I'm playing with right now.
That's great. That's great. So, if somebody wants to hear you, and maybe not in this part of the country, do you have like streaming services? Do you have music that you could, sell or whatever?
I don't really do that. What I do, I have Facebook, and that's at a site called Tool Belt Jedis,
Okay.
and that's my music blog.
Okay.
I not only report on my own adventures in music, but every place I go where music is going on, I take photos, I interview people, I write about the event that I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
I love to promote music for everybody. That quite often takes a back seat to what I'm doing because I don't want to make it about me. I try to make it about music and other arts. I go to art openings, I go to poetry slams, um, and of course, music everywhere.
That's great. So, give your contact information on if somebody wants to hear you. Uh, do you have a website that has your venues, up and coming venues?
I keep my music all on Facebook at, again, Tool Belt Jedis. It's two
Okay,
separate words. And as far as the book is concerned, my website is www.showsleary.com, and that's SHOWSLEARY. That's one word.
right.
That's dedicated to the book.
Okay.
If anybody, I have all my interviews, all my readings. I have videos of all the readings that I've done. Um, I have reviews, and I have, all promotion of the book is on that website. And I also have Shows Leary on Facebook that's dedicated to the book as well.
Okay, great. So, Shows, it's been a pleasure talking to you. You've been listening to Shows with Leary. I'm Cynthia Pooler. This is local everywhere. So, if you like this show, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Shows, it was great talking with you, and I look forward to hearing your music at some point.
Thanks, Cynthia. Hope to see you again. And thank you for meeting up with me and asking me to do this interview. I'm happy to talk about my book and my music. And although I don't really think you're in Bermuda right now,
No, I'm
um,
not.
but
Don't
that's a
you
great
know that
backdrop.
I have a beach outside my house in Albany? You didn't
Yep.
know that, did you?
Well, actually, I did. Since we met, I've been to your. You have 3 YouTube channels, I believe. I've
Yes.
watched videos on all of them because, of course, I want to know who I'm talking to. And you are
Right.
a very interesting lady.
Thank you.
And I hope people, not only are interested in what I've got to say, but they should check out your channel. You interview very interesting people, and your channel, all of your channels are worth checking out by everybody.
Thank you. And I did not coax shows to say that about me.
You
Okay,
did.
sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a great day.
You're welcome, everybody. Hiya.